All right, guys, welcome back to Surviving Hollywood Podcast. Oh my goodness, we're here. We're hanging out with you guys. We're being real. We're kicking ass and taking names, right, guys?
Who's the guest this week, Johnny?
Nobody. Because you know what? Right now, we're living in a time that's like crazy. LA's on fire. The world is on fire. You know, especially all over with the protests. Racism, police brutality, all the things that are happening in this world right now, I think are taking precedence over Hollywood for a good reason. And I actually think it's great because it's starting conversations. We're having conversations about these things, and it's important because we don't have this conversation enough.
I think what Johnny's trying to say is that we got stiffed, our guest didn't show up, and we had a conversation about a slice of life on what's happening in Los Angeles and what's sort of going on in our acting careers. It's not auditions, there's none, but other just more business side stuff.
So this is what, by the way, my name's Aaron Arnold. That was Austin Arnold. Johnny didn't let us give our intros, but
Johnny didn't give his own.
Yeah, he said, my name is Johnny, and then he got into it, you know?
I was so into it, man.
Anyway, here's the cool thing about this episode. We're waiting for... First of all, when you listen and watch this episode, there might be some cuts because if we have to cut out certain things, it's because for the first half of this episode, we didn't know that we would release this as an episode about the state of the protests in Los Angeles and Hollywood today. So the first half is just going to be us, shooting the shit about the protests and Black Lives Matter. And then in the middle section, we start realizing this guest isn't going to show up. There must have been some confusion, no big deal. But then we have like a whole 10-minute conversation. Should we keep going? Should we release the first part? So the bottom line is there are going to be probably a few things cut out because we don't want to dox anybody. But besides that, slice of life, talking about the protests, BLM. It's going to be a great episode.
Hollywood, Hollywood, Hollywood. Tell me what it's like to live in Hollywood. Hollywood, Hollywood, Hollywood. Tell me what it's like to live a life in Hollywood. I'ma survive, I'ma survive, I'ma survive, I'ma survive. Hollywood, Hollywood, Hollywood.
So does anybody have any hot takes on the movement? Obviously, we got to get, the obligatory what a tragedy out of the way, which is the truth. But does anybody have any hot takes?
I mean, I think it's a take or just a discussion would be they've charged, I don't know, they've charged the other cops, like they're now charged as well, and the protests are still going on. When's that end? I don't know.
I don't know if it's a hot take though, but it's because it's also because the other people that died still haven't gotten any kind of justice, like Breonna Taylor.
Oh, really?
Nobody's been arrested for that.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Here's a question.
You can educate me on that, Johnny.
What should we do? Everybody's supporting the protesters. I've never seen, Fox News pundits. Just seems like everybody across the board is supporting the protesters and the fact that this man got killed tragically. But there is some question as to should the cops and military stop people from looting and destructing property? That could be a good discussion.
Should they stop them?
Well, some people are saying, when you send the military against civilians, that's something, obviously, that's authoritative, something nobody wants to do. I don't know if you're familiar with the Kent State shooting from the 70s where the military shot 4 students.
But the military hasn't engaged anybody. As far as any videos I've seen, I haven't seen, the military beating people.
Well, exactly.
You know what I mean? They've all been pretty chill. I mean, if you think about it, the National Guard, it's really just a bunch of reserves. These people are probably teachers. They're probably part-time lawyers or something. They're all just
they're all our high school buddies growing up.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just they're like, dude, I'm not really, dude.
But there are videos of police being very physical.
Right. Police, but not military though.
Yeah. And there's videos of looters, which, those don't represent the whole movement on the police side or the protester side. But it just seems to me some people are saying don't stop people from doing graffiti and looting because that's going to escalate the situation or it's going to be bad or something. It's you don't stop that shit.
I haven't heard anybody say that really.
I just said it.
Oh, you're saying that. Oh, okay.
I mean,
go ahead.
I think I don't know if you guys have seen Payman Benz's recent Instagrams or tweets. He is very, he feels very passionately about nobody should be even talking about stop looting, stop destroying buildings.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's so nobody during other, it's so insignificant compared to the racism.
It's like saying all lives matter. Basically, is what a lot like, dude. If you even bring that up, you're like messing with the message of the issue. So it's like again, it's like if you don't signal the exact playbook of what you're supposed to signal, people get like mad at you.
But I feel like if Payman Benz had a shop that was getting looted and stuff, then he would care. It's like if this is your home that you're now out of a home or out of a shop, it's like that those people can definitely care.
Well, I think that like, I mean, I get what he's saying, and yeah, obviously the whole reason why people are protesting is the part that matters. Like the looting is insignificant compared to the greater cause of what it is. I think people do have to still talk about it because they also have to inform people to make sure that others know that it's not BLM that's necessarily the ones that are doing the looting. You know what I mean? It's other people which are detracting from the cause. So I think you still have to talk. You should still talk about it, because if we don't talk about it, people just assume that it's just protesters that are looting.
We should still talk about who is that football player, Johnny, who came out and said, "I don't like the kneeling" or whatever. Just recently.
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees. It's like, some people want to get him fired or whatever. I don't think that's the answer. Listen, I think like what LeBron initially tweeted out, like, the reason that what's his name kneeled.
Colin
Kaepernick kneeled was because they showed the picture of the cop kneeling on the guy's neck. Now, Drew Brees still, is a little bit confused with the issue, but the answer isn't to like fire him and silence him. Let's get the discussion going. Well, hey, let's not like push the racists down so they can't talk. I think the more talking, the better. And you're going to hear a lot of ideas you don't like, but
Yeah, I just think that his, I don't think he meant anything bad by it in any way. I think he just was like, I just don't think he fully understands the scope of it. And
yeah.
I think that's the problem. So I think, I don't think like getting rid of him is the solution. I'm sure even though a lot of people were upset, I don't think like just completely getting rid of him is what needs to be done. But yeah, I think if just you open conversation, let people understand, I think that'll help a lot. Because I think even for him, like he's probably gotten so much backlash from it, that this has probably been like a very educational for him too.
So what's the best thing somebody can do, do you think? A white person, if you will, a regular person who doesn't really have any power, but like to help the movement. I hope it's more than just posting a black square on Instagram or, saying just posting on Twitter. That's like oh my God, dude, that's like the worst thing. Not the worst thing. It's just so trivial to me doing that. Let's actually do something proactive. What are the best things somebody can
Post Blackout Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
I
can't hire anybody.
I think just listen, man. I think I think it's the biggest thing.
Black Lives Matter is sounding like my girlfriend all of a sudden.
Well, I think it's safe to say this dude's not going to come on.
Hey, you know what's guys crazy, but I think we should do this. Bleep out the name.
You lagged big time. Okay. That whole section lagged.
You know what I think we should do? Obviously, bleep out the names like Payman Benz. But that slice of life that we were just talking about, hey, what can we talk about? That's going to be so much more engaging than the presentational. Now let's give our opinions.
Did we say anything bad about Payman Benz besides naming him? We didn't say anything bad. That's the stuff he posted publicly online.
Yeah, that's true. We can keep it.
We're big fans of Payman Benz, by the way. Johnny's his best friend, but we're all big fans.
Payman
follows me.
Yeah.
He doesn't like any of my shit, but he follows me.
He's got you on mute.
Yeah.
But okay, cool. Let's keep talking about this, and then we'll do an intro, and this will be the episode.
Well, why don't we can we make more of an official one? As I feel like we were just kind of like riffing right now.
I like that better.
We can, but I'm afraid because usually when we talk about, let's talk about auditions on the podcast, what we talk about off mic is to me more engaging than the presentational,
Yeah,
my
I think we're
opinion.
definitely going to use that in last 15 minutes or whatever. But let's keep talking about it. We're also going to use
Well,
this.
hopefully I didn't say some dumb shit.
I'll make sure I'll go through it. But I'm not going to beep out Payman's name because he posted all that stuff publicly, and everybody's a fan of Payman, and he's on the right side of history. It's all good.
If anybody said any inappropriate shit, it's Aaron. Johnny, you're fine.
And we're even going to leave this part in where we're all talking
Yeah.
about should we put it in. This will be a fun.
No,
one.
dude.
Yes. Wait,
What do you think a podcast is, bro?
I think we should, because this is
Hey, no reply. Yeah, he's not
if we bleep out anything, it should be the name of the guy who didn't show up, because we don't need to do that.
well,
we can
yeah,
just say,
we don't need to talk about that.
we can just
Henry?
say some guy.
Yeah, we won't mention Henry.
James Cameron, yeah, fuck that guy.
So what's
Don't put
so-
that in, dude.
so what's the solution, or so Johnny said listen.
Okay, so let me. I don't know if can you really even edit this together, dude? This is gonna be such a mess for you.
Aaron's not cutting anything. It'll be a fade in. The title and thumbnail will say it all.
I'll watch the whole thing, but I'm not going to cut out the part about Payman. I don't know, man. It's like
But all this stuff right here we're talking about is
Yeah,
I feel
actually, I
this
will-
doesn't need to be in it. You know,
Yeah,
what I mean?
I think people would be engaged.
No, now we're debating whether something should be in the podcast. Like that's not.
Wait,
You know?
if you heard Joe Rogan and Jamie talking about this, you'd be like, you turn it up. You're like, oh, this never happens.
Yeah, when you watch Andrew Schultz's podcast, they're always just shooting the shit about stuff. It's fun.
Let's try it.
The conversation's not really going anywhere right now. Is
Not anymore.
it? So, what do you think is the solution?
So I'm talking about presentational. Hey, Johnny, when you say listen, like I listen and I don't post anything on any social media, is that good enough? Like I'm listening and I am empathetic.
Your silence is compliance. Haven't you seen that?
Do you believe that though?
Well, I do, but then I also see the other side of it because I actually had a friend of mine that is black and was pretty silent during this whole thing, and we actually had a conversation about it, and it was actually I saw her perspective. A lot of it too is that in many ways, she said she felt like she had to process things, like everything that was happening. And also just take care of herself. You know what I mean? Like her physical well-being was is obviously important. So as much as she wanted to root for this cause and go for this thing, she felt like she needed to kind of take a step back and really sit with herself about how she was feeling through everything. So I think it really everybody's different. You know what I mean? But I think it is important that people do talk about it because we don't really talk about it enough. And it's one of those issues that isn't just a race issue. It's about it's a human issue. You know what I mean? It's really, that's where it really comes down to. So I think if we can't talk about it, it's kind of it kind of sets us back further.
I totally agree with the sentiment that we should talk about it. Even further, that white people should be public sometimes saying this is wrong and should just show that, hey, we should change this. Now, I don't necessarily agree with you have to, I don't you have to focus on the exact playbook. And if you alter in any way, you can't, it seems like sometimes you can't have an opinion. But I do want to bring up kind of a hot take. You guys all watched The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary. John, you might remember this from the 90s. Everybody got on Michael Jordan's case back in the day because he didn't come out and support a progressive candidate who was running against basically an explicit racist Republican candidate, but explicitly racist versus the progressive. Everybody said, Michael Jordan, you need to support that guy. And then Michael Jordan donated to the campaign, but he famously said, and this was in jest with his players and the bus, but he said, hey, Republicans buy sneakers too. But beyond that, in the documentary, he explained, I've never thought of myself as an activist. And I might be putting some words in his mouth here, but this is just he might have said this is my general take, that he doesn't think of himself as an activist. And if he starts getting all political all of a sudden, that is that alienates basically half the country, or it has the potential to. what he did, he basically said that people, I'm going to lead. I'm going to like be a leader just through my actions and what I do, because I'm going to have tons of like Republican and or racist fans who just watch me play. And then all of a sudden maybe their opinion's going to be changed on black people just because I'm, doing what I do best to the highest level I can. And if I would have, got all political all of a sudden, that would have alienated half the people. So I guess my point is, because it's not exactly, necessarily the same thing. My point is that you don't have to always lead through virtue signaling or, posting and stuff. You could just lead through actions and how you live your life. And that could also work too.
So basically, Michael Jordan said, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing as if nothing's changed. And that's how I'll lead.
Well, he said, I'm going to play basketball the best I can.
I mean, I get his perspective too, because I remember that in the documentary. I do remember that. And that was like I think if anything, that was like a big thing for him, where he got criticized for a long time for that, where, you reach a certain platform and so people expect you.
Well, they said, think of Michael Jordan, think of how much good you could have done by doing this. You would have done so much good. And Michael Jordan's thing was like, I never thought of myself as an activist. I think I did good in a lot of other ways by, tons of people from all sides of politics saw me as a black man leading in business and in basketball and just being a personality. And I think that changed minds too.
Well, I think it's like, I think what it is also is like, once you've reached a certain level, like people, especially such a global icon, such a huge figure, he's almost like a leader now, right? So people look to that role model or that platform as sort of someone that they hope to be guided by, right? But like when he said, I just want to play basketball, I also respect that too, in a way, like, because there was I can't remember what actress it was that recently, a lot of people were like asking her to be also very proactive in the movement. And she strongly supported the Black Lives Matter movement right now as well. But then she also said, like, she told her audience too, like, guys, I'm not an activist. There are so many people that dedicate their entire lives to this. Like, they're better leaders in this moment than I am. So I would encourage you to like reach out to those people. Like, it doesn't mean I don't support the movement. I'm all about it too. But like, these are people that like dedicate their whole lives to doing this and they're more involved. But I do agree, like posting on social media, like I think it's all fine, like it shows where you stand and hopefully it does create a conversation, if anything. But there are a lot of other things you can do for the cause and stuff like that I think are more important. Well, I mean, like one thing, for example, like yesterday, it didn't work out. I was going to go, but I was actually just going to go to just hand out water to protesters.
Which streets?
I was going to go with a friend. We were talking about going downtown, and also I was thinking of going to help some businesses that have been vandalized and just help them clean up. You know what I mean? Because, I think that it's small in maybe what I'm doing and stuff, but like, I'm also not a big fan of people having to put everything on social media. Like, I kind of hate it when I see people like, oh, look at me, I just bought like food for this homeless person. Like, check it out. Here I am. Like, I don't like that. I'm like, just do it. You don't have to like tell everybody you did it. I think it's good if you're trying to use it to promote other people to get to do it. Like, that's cool. But like, if you're just doing it because like I need a little attention, like, no bueno.
Well, I don't like when people, like some certain people, like in this particular thing with the Black Lives Matter thing and everything that's been going on now, I think it is a good thing, like white people and all sorts of people just showing unity. I think it is a good thing, everybody showing unity. But, I felt like I saw some people posting, hey, my influencer friends, I see you not posting anything. Just know I see you and all this stuff. It's like, hey, you're not posting the exact same thing as me as often as me. Just know I see you.
Hey, name names, Aaron. Which one of our friends said that?
It's not like somebody you guys would know. And the one person I'm thinking of, but I saw it from a few different people.
Like what Johnny said, like handing out waters, helping with the spray paint, whatever. I obviously respect that. I respect that girl, the actress that said, hey, I'm not an activist, but follow these people. These people are more activists than me. I think it's very convenient, going back to Michael Jordan, saying, oh, I'm going to show my support for this by doing the exact same thing that always serves me. It's like, he's like, oh, it's very convenient. It's very self-serving to say, like, this is how I'm going to show my support.
But it's also, if you don't consider yourself an activist, like, why would you have to, like, post that much? If you're good at being basketball, and in this case, you happen to be a black man, it makes sense. Now, LeBron James is doing it, like, way better. He's, like, an activist and stands up for things. Plus, he's really good at basketball. Michael Jordan, who isn't into that, said, you know, maybe I'm putting some words in his mouth, but he basically said, I can change more people's minds just by being a black guy doing basketball and business the best I can do. Hey, by the way, real quick hot take. If we don't see a huge spike in coronavirus in 2 weeks, it was a hoax for sure.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I've been like really hesitant to go to some of the protests. Cause like, I just see so many groups of people, like massive groups of people. And I think like, dude, like being in a crowd of like 200, 300 people, there's so many people are going to get sick, you know, if it's real, which
2 weeks ago was very real.
I think it is. But me personally, like I haven't gone down there because I was worried about that, and I was going back home. My parents are old. The last thing I want to do is like get my grandma sick, or like I don't care if I get sick. I'm sure I'll be fine. But for my family, dude, I want to see my family, so that's why I've been really hesitant to like, you know, get on board with that. But I've been trying to like figure out other ways I can be involved without actually physically going there, like donating, buying stuff from like black-owned shops and things like that. I've been doing things like that.
Johnny bought a do-rag, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Hey, to switch to change subjects a little bit, more towards Los Angeles and Hollywood. Johnny, you had to tell your manager that you're going a different direction. How'd that go?
Well, it was actually interesting. The whole thing was I sent her an email. She then called me, and
obviously that was you were like, let's just do it over email, but she gave you the call.
I tried. We played phone tag a little bit, and eventually we got in touch with each other. We talked for a long time, and she kind of was just like, felt like it came out of nowhere. It was a surprise, which in a sense it was, because I never told her anything like, hey, I'm not happy or anything like that.
2020, bitch, right? Everything's a surprise.
I kind of did it like a Band-Aid, man. Just like quickly, hey, I'm on, now I'm off. But she still wanted to keep me. So she was basically saying like, hey, if you change your mind right now, like, I think we could still work things out. Or let's say if you do decide to go somewhere else, she was actually very supportive. She said like, I'll still support your career. And if down the road, like if something doesn't work out, if you decide to go to another manager, then we can always revisit representation if I don't have somebody that fits your category, basically. So it actually went pretty well. But on the good news, my agent actually left her agency. Did you guys?
Salt?
No, I was with Littman Talent.
Littman.
But she actually moved to, do you guys know AEFH?
I don't think so.
So they're like a huge agency in town.
Whoa. And now you're with them.
Well, so what happened is she knows the owner of that agency, and he actually opened sort of a subsidiary theatrical agency from that one. Like he's now running both.
Why?
I'm not sure exactly. I don't really know, to be honest with you. But he has like another one called Pinnacle. That's like their own subsidiary of it. And I guess she's now with them. I don't know if she's running it with him. It felt like she kind of was, but I don't really know. So she kind of brought me along, and she was like telling me like, this is going to be like really big for a lot of people, because that agency represents like Danny Trejo. They have a lot of like B-list talent, some A-listers. Like they have a good mix of like well-known actors.
And you're definitely with them, correct? Now?
Yeah, she already moved over. Yeah, they've already transitioned everything over. But that all happened like at the same time.
Dude,
so
you didn't even get along that as well with the head of the other agency. You got along with your person, So this is great. Like that only benefits you.
No, yeah, dude, it's great. I mean, that's why when because she didn't know that I was like planning on leaving my manager, and then she called me because my manager called her, and that was like, she's like, why didn't you tell me like you were unhappy or what's going on? She's like, are you leaving me too? And I was like, no, like I just it's just something that I've kind of felt and I just needed to do it. So
I can't believe your agent would say, are you leaving me too? Like, what the hell was your manager telling her?
Well, I mean, you know, I've been with her for a long time, man. It's probably well, not like a long time. It's probably been like 4 or 5 years. It's been more than 5 years, actually.
A year or two ago, probably 2 years ago, we emailed our agent after we had already like parted ways with our manager. And we said, hey, just so you know, don't include her in the emails anymore because we're no longer with her. And our agent just said, okay.
I mean,
go ahead. You still with us, Johnny?
Yeah, I'm still. It's just I was talking.
Okay, cool.
She texted me.
In terms of like, the manager saying, this came out of nowhere. In my mind, if you were to bring that up, I feel I would do the same thing as you. If you were to bring it up a month before saying, hey, I'm not really happy, it's not like she'd be like, oh, well, let me start getting you auditions. It's just like she'd make you feel better, but what would fundamentally change? Because she's, it's not like she's not trying.
Yeah, and I don't know what position you guys are in, but like, one of the reasons, or she asked me like, was something, did I not like something? And like, I felt like I was pretty honest with her about stuff in terms of me saying like, look, it's nothing that you did. Like, actually, I think you're like a good person. And it was
not you, it's me.
It was cool and everything. I just felt like also I wasn't getting a lot of auditions. Other friends that I talked to, especially like this like last pilot season, although I feel like I've never really had an actual pilot season. I don't know if you guys have had one.
I relate.
I've never had one.
I've never had.
I've gone on auditions for pilots, but it's not really like a pilot season.
But with some of the friends I talked to, especially at the beginning of this year, I remember like at least 1 or 2 friends I talked to, they were like, "Oh my God, I can't breathe." Like it's like 3 or 4 auditions a day.
Read the room with that comment, Johnny.
For huge projects like leads in new shows. And then I remember one friend was like, I had to literally tell my agents like, stop sending me so many, because I didn't have enough time to prepare for each one. So everyone was kind of half-assed. So I was like, damn, like you're getting like, 5-10 auditions a week for like legitimate pilots. And I was like, I can't even get like one a month. You know what I mean?
I think it was Janube that said.
She was one of the ones that was talking about that. And I was like, but then I also recognized like, look, she's young, she's young, a young, pretty girl.
Good God. That's all she is to you. Young, hot girl.
No, that's not all she is to me.
She was pretty hot though.
She's young. She's hot.
I love Janube.
She's lesbian. She's got the trifecta.
Why does it matter that she's lesbian?
A person of color, a Latina.
Joke.
Actually, I talked to her. I just talked to her this last weekend because we're in that group together. But anyway, no, Danube's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's the best.
But yeah, so she's been busy with stuff, and it's like I kind of felt like it's obviously an age thing. Like I'm a lot older, and so there's not going to be as many opportunities. Because like right now, dude, they like, especially during this whole manager hunt, I've noticed that if you're young, super attractive, like top managers will sign you right away. Like you're like 20, 21, super good looking. You could have zero credits, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, Luber Rockland will sign you." Like, no problem. Like they don't care because they're just banging on the fact that like hopefully this person will audition for series, and just get one. That's all they need, right?
Well, and they can play under 18.
I don't know. Right. And that's kind of what's in right now. So
I feel you. That's always been in.
Especially if they're like biracial, because like biracial is a big thing right now. Or like mixed.
Or ambiguous or whatever.
Yeah, it's just like.
But not European mixed like I am.
That's the same thing as white, dude.
Hey, you guys know why white power sounds so stupid? Like, why is it that black power is not stupid, but white power is stupid? Or not power, pride. Why is it black pride sounds smart, but like white pride sounds dumb? Now you might think, oh, because white people have positions of power, but that's not the case. I mean, that might be part of it, but it's because, white people don't have white pride because they're proud of being Hispanic or like from Mexico or Guatemala or Italian or Spain or Irish. They have like different nationalities. Black people, since they all came over here on the ship and everything, they don't know if they're from certain parts of Africa because they don't unfortunately, they don't have that like knowledge of their history. And so they obviously have to unify as, black people. But that's part of the reason why it sounds so dumb when somebody says, hey, why can't white people be proud? Because that's dumb, because you're proud to be, Irish or whatever.
But you say that all the time, though.
What? No, I don't. Hey, let's wrap this up and do the intro for this episode.
This was the episode? Oh, man.
This is what they do on Joe Rogan, Johnny. Why? Come
on.
No,
no. I'm fine with these conversations. I think these are good. It just felt like I wasn't even trying on this podcast. I was just kind of like, whatever.
I think it's just a slice of life of the times. This is going to be history when people look back on this, years to come.
Well, let's spend the last few minutes talking about podcasts go in the next 6 months. Like, we're obviously still going to be on Zoom.
Maybe 6 months from now we won't.
Okay, in the next 3 months. Johnny wants to stay on Zoom forever.
Do you?
I kind of like it.
Well, I like.
I don't have to leave my house. It's kind of nice, dude.
I like because we can all get like face shots, which we don't have the media production to do this good enough when we're filming in one location. It'd be awesome if we could, but this is a way to get like everybody having like, face shots, which is obviously better. A negative is we don't actually get to shake hands with some of the people we're meeting. But I do like the fact that we all get face shots.
Can I make a podcast recommendation, by the way? I don't know if you guys have heard of it. The A24 podcast.
From the production company?
From the production company. They have their own podcast. Dude, there's a really great one in there with Jonah Hill and Michael Cera. It's like they don't have a host. They just put like two actors together or two filmmakers and just let them talk.
That's cool.
Is that a recent one or is that from Superbad days?
No, this one came out, I think it came out like a year ago or something.
So, because Jonah Hill directed and produced his one independent feature.
Yeah, it was when he did mid-90s. It was around the time mid-90s came out. So it's fairly recent. But they talk about how like they're best friends. And they had like a lot of good stories about like touring during Superbad.
Well, I remember
it's really funny.
I've heard one of their stories. It's like, because that was the first thing they ever did, basically the first big thing. And Jonah Hill's like, I'm pretty sure the extras on set all thought this was going to be a straight to DVD release because they thought everybody was just dumb. But then like the movie comes out for the first time ever, everybody wants to talk with them. Ladies love them. They're the hottest thing ever. And then they like have to travel over to like Europe where the movie's not out. Did they tell that story?
They were talking about how they were in Italy and like the posters for Italy for the movie were like had nothing to do with what the movie was about. And he said that like they dubbed the words in Italian, right? So they use obviously local Italian actors to dub their voices. And they said that the person that dubbed Emma Stone's voice was like a famous Italian actress. And she was so well known, and they were worried that the movie would not be received over there because they're a bunch of unknowns, that they actually put the Italian woman's face on the poster over Emma Stone's body. And he was just like, what? Like, that's Emma Stone. Like, why? I thought that was pretty funny, dude.
Hey, Emma Stone wasn't a name back then.
I mean, yeah, none of them were.
It's true.
But
Michael Cera was the biggest name.
Yeah, Arrested Development. But he still wasn't, like, huge in terms of, like, I feel like that movie really...
Yeah, for sure. Well, it really, like, put Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill on the map, kind of. Anyway, let's wrap this up and do the intro.
Yeah, I want to, guys, thank the audience. If you're still listening, we would appreciate a good review on iTunes. It would really help us grow the podcast. You can grow with us.
A sentence or two. These guys are great. 5 stars. That's all you have to do. And that's a big way to contribute to a modern day civil rights cause because Johnny's a person of color.
If you guys are still listening to this podcast, I feel sorry for you.
Oh, come on. All right. Have a great night, everybody.
Later.
All right, let's do the intro.
All right, guys. Welcome back to Surviving Hollywood Podcast. Oh, my goodness.